Okay, so in this video, I do an exposition of the solar arc that I made for my boat in Mexico about 3.5 years ago. I was in Barra de Navidad, and I had a local guy named Jesus, and the company, it was his father's, was called Aries Welding, and there's a local shop there. I designed it myself, and I paid around $2,000 US for this. When I was in the US, I tried to have a couple of estimates for a similar job, at much simpler and smaller, just real basic. They wouldn't even come to my boat, these guys that I contacted, these welders in metal shops. They wouldn't even come to my boat, and they said over the phone the minimum was $6,000. So I can imagine that having what I had here made in Mexico for $2,000 is an equivalent to about, seriously, $18,000 to $20,000 if you're going to have this made in the US. So if you are a cruiser and you're going to go into Mexico or anywhere third world, this is probably a good project to keep for later and do it when it's more affordable. And also when you can find a guy local like I did that will sit down and work with you and go through the different iterations of your ideas, because it takes some trial and error. Okay, so the clip that follows is me just very simply explaining the details of the design of my solar arc. Enjoy. This is my 36-foot sailboat Valhalla, and I want to talk about the solar arc that I made custom for her. You can see the width here is about equal to that of the boat, so it doesn't stick out badly. It has a broad bending arc, convenient for accommodating various cockpit duties. I designed it to be as integral to my boat as possible. You can see it is placed just behind the end of the boom and to equal height as the boom. I've also added davits to the stern portion with welded on attaching points. From this angle, you can see the true breadth and imagine her potential utility. Looking closer, I've mounted the 4 supporting legs to the side of the hull, opening up more usable cockpit space. Here we look at custom starboard davits used to quickly lift dinghy from water, keeping her safe overnight and preventing excess chafe on her vulnerable rubberized pontoon. The Dodger integrates nicely into the cockpit shade, attaching easily to her arches. From this view, we see a better look at the profile. I constructed her not much taller than necessary, as to not obstruct upwind sailing performance. I've welded in a small section of safety lines with stainless tube for extra handholds and additional structure. The arch is constructed by 2-inch stainless tube laterally and 1.5-inch tube longitudinally, as well as a flat bar section for flush panel mounting. Here we look closer at stern portion and davits with multiple attaching points for block and tackle lifting and retrieval. Another feature is the wind generator mounts, tubularly welded onto port side davits, clearing space and electrical wires from cockpit working area. Okay, so thanks for watching that. So at the end here, I'll just leave some comments, some pros and cons. So let's see. Let's start with the cons. So it could be potentially heavy the way that I designed it. I did it with 2-inch laterally and 1.5 longitudinally. Maybe I could have got away with going a little bit thinner on the tubes. Maybe I could have done 1.5-inch laterally and 1-inch longitudinally. I don't know. I didn't construct it that way. But it's always in my mind, is it too heavy? You know, sometimes you don't, and there's no way for me to really know. I know that when they put this on, two guys could lift it and mount it, just so one guy on each side of it, and it was that heavy where two guys can lift it and still mount it like that. But it's always in the back of my head when I'm sailing, and you know, you always want more performance when you're out there, and so you start to think, did I make this too heavy? Because of course it's weight up high, and that's going to counter your ballast, of course, and that's not good, of course. So I tried it. So actually, I had it chopped a little bit lower. Once I got to the Philippines, I had it chopped as low as I could possibly make it, and so that was kind of a modification I made so that the weight wasn't too high. Of course, I always wonder in my head, is it how much wind flow is this structure obstructing on my boat? You know, because of course you have the sails, but you also, for a long cruiser like me, I have a wind vane on the back, and I wonder how much does that impede the performance of the wind vane and the sailing abilities of the boat. That's all for the cons. And for the pros, you know, it should be some obvious from just watching that video, but also I can say it just makes cruising more enjoyable. It's great shading. It feels safer that you're in the cockpit. It's a nice, stable, super duper stable platform for panels and electric wires and for all types of stuff. I have my kayak on one side. I have these buoys, these bumpers on one side. I have my dinghy on the other, and you know, I hang shades off the side. You can almost get carried away. You have just so much of a nice base to work with. Okay, well, thanks guys for watching. Good luck out there with your own project. Cheers.